Hello everyone and welcome to another track guide video, and today we are at Le Mans and I'm using this car. So I'm using the CLK, and this in my opinion feels like a Group 1 car rather than a Group 2, but you gotta be using the Group 2 car here. I think it's OP, and you can rent out this car if you don't have it. So just go down there, you can click on the rent button and just take it and race with it. And that's about it. So without further ado guys, let's get going. Okay, let's go going with this lap, and you have to notice that I'm exiting out of the last turn in third gear rather than second, because it just gives me a little bit better acceleration, and I would really appreciate if you hit that like button and maybe even subscribe to the channel, so that would be perfect. But here I'm just taking a little bit of a wider line so I can approach it in a better way, so I can have like a straight line braking distance. I'm using the total sign as a reference, and I also want to go over the curb track there, but it also, I mean, it's very difficult to explain, but sometimes the curb unsettled the car. So here I was a little bit lucky, but I was exiting out in third gear, so just make sure that you're out in third gear rather than second. And here on the right hand side, I'm using the pole as some kind of reference, but be very sharp on the brakes, but don't turn as you brake, otherwise the car will understeer quite a lot. So here, once again, you always want to exit in a higher gear because you just want to use the maximum amount of acceleration, and I think it's just a better way for the car to handle the turn. So here, I'm looking at the right. As soon as this little blue patch, I would say, it starts, you start turning in, and also just try to maximize your exit out of this one. I know it's a bit hard, you can even pick up a penalty, but that's just the way it works around this track. Sometimes, as I say, on this circuit, you just have to be lucky. So fast forwarding to this part, and this is the 100-meter sign. From left to right, it doesn't matter where you look, it's always going to be there. So just make sure that you're dead on the 100. Maybe a little bit later if you can, but you can also cut this curb a little bit. So here I'm using, I mean, you can actually cut that curb a little bit more, but I decided to keep it clean and exit in third gear. So it's very important how you approach that turn. So if you try to cut it a little bit more, you are risking a penalty. So is it worth it in the race? Maybe not. In the qualifying, I will probably go and try, something like that in the future. So here, once again, the 100-meter sign, brake a little bit later than 100, like at the 80. And here you can actually see that I'm going to the inside of the first curb. And also, I would kind of like to get a wider line in the last corner. I was going in and out on the throttle, but I mean, with this car, you just gotta trust the car. That's basically it. So when you hit the throttle, you have to keep on going. Otherwise, if you just go on and off, the car will understeer, you will lose the balance, and everything's it's just gonna be a mess, to be honest. So here I'm looking there, I'm looking at this kind of a sharp point, and brake in the straight line. Do not turn before, before it's like, I would say very late, but trust the car. So exit in second gear, but it's always about trusting the car. So sometimes it feels like, okay, maybe this car cannot turn that late, but it actually can. So, try it out, see how it works for you, and really see how much, how much of that rotation can you get out of the car. So over the Astro right there, I'm looking at the beginning of the curb, but once again, keep the car straight under braking. So make sure that the car is straight, and then you brake, looking at the end of the curb right there. And this is a pretty good indicator for turning. So a little bit later is not a problem, but just make sure that you're not on the brakes, otherwise this car slides a lot. And also third gear on the way out is a must. So here I wasn't quite sure where to brake. You can probably brake a little bit later than the sign on the right, but just make sure that it's before the 50, so around 60-65 meters. And also the end of the curb is a good, very, very good reference for turning in, and also exiting out in the faster gear as usual. So now we are always want to kind of keep it clean in this sector. So I'm just gonna give you kind of a heads up on what to do and what not to do, but it's pretty much gonna be about keeping it straight and just keeping it tidy and clean on the way in, so you can kind of get the better line. So Goodyear sign and the Astro are kind of good braking points, but you can also want to note that I'm not really using full braking pressure. I'm using more like to about 50-60% and then letting go. This way the car keeps the balance and you can actually get more speed, and you know, the car just doesn't slow down that much. So in and out in 5th or 6th gear, I should have probably stayed in 6th, but just before the turn you want to downshift in the 4th and just tap the brakes a little bit so you can carry that line, so you can stay to the inside. And here I'm looking at the sign, and just before this little sign I'm going in. So I'm starting to go in. You can see the car is understeering because I gave it a little bit more of the throttle and the car started understeering. I caught it up and it was good to go. So just before the sign is kind of the optimum point, but you also have to carry the speed, and also you have to account for the speed you're taking in. So here, just before the curb, but make sure that you don't cut it too much, otherwise you will pick up a penalty inside of both curbs. And now, once again, the curb is a pretty good indicator, but I probably should have gone in here a little bit later. And also, once again, 3rd gear on the way out, but be very, very sharp. And also, once you put the power down, you just go with that. I mean, if you make a mistake, just go for another lap. Otherwise, you're risking, I mean, you're not really risking, but you will definitely get the understeer. So guys, once again, if you liked the video, please hit that like button. And as usual, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.